Hello there. I'm Tozer, Couples Master Coach, and I'm here to help introduce the idea of what this how to survive your marriage crisis, particularly after infidelity, is all about. So there are two parts to this short video series, and I'm just going to be one moment now. I just have to fiddle with something here. So I'm back again. So there are two parts to this. And while I fully understand for you, it is absolutely mind-blowingly miserable having to go through this, there is a way through. And part one shows you how to get through this dizzying time, often very confusing time, after the shock of discovering the infidelity has come through and overwhelmed you, and probably overwhelmed your partner, your spouse as well. So part one is 3 short videos which show you how to manage this crisis time and settle down enough to work out what you want to do, what's possible. Part 2 then goes on to give some clarity around what may have caused this problem. And I know a lot of people will say, well, nothing caused it. Who makes that decision? So I have an explanation in there across that video of what possibly contributed to somebody, that spouse who betrayed, being vulnerable and not being able to resist that temptation. So it's important to know that and be able to reflect back on your relationship pre this infidelity to see if there were signs there, if there were indicators that we were heading off in the wrong on the wrong path, we were in a very dysfunctional, unhappy state. So part 2 gives some clarity around that, and it shows you the way forward to being able to repair and revive your relationship, if that's what you choose to do. So here you go, moving on to part 1. Hi, I'm Tozer, and I'm thrilled you're here to discover the first secret in my How to Survive Your Marriage Crisis 3-part series. If you found this yourself or your spouse sent you to this video series, I want to say a big high five for having the courage to be here at this difficult time. With what I'm sharing with you in this video today and the following 2 videos, you'll really understand exactly what you need to do to set yourself up for success in your marriage healing process, and especially so you can avoid further bitterness and burnout. Our goal together is to create a safe space for your communication and reconnection that will allow you to rebuild trust, reignite intimacy, and ultimately have a union that other couples actually envy. What you'll learn in this 3-part series isn't being taught anywhere else as far as I know. I fumbled through discovering these secrets myself, even as a highly educated couples therapist and a psychologist for many, many years. So in case you were wondering, no, I didn't learn these secrets in school. This information comes directly from decades of real study and real work with real couples, over 5,000 couples in fact. That's how many I've worked with. With the 3 stages of healing a broken marriage that you're about to learn, you'll already have set a foundation in place for restoring loving, deep connection that most couples can never do with conventional methods of keeping a marriage together, such as conventional therapy. Today, I want to share with you the number 1 shift you must make to weather the storm of infidelity and betrayal, and particularly if it's separation as well, that you may be experiencing. Most people say, I didn't think this would ever happen to us, when they seek my help. Marriage breakdown is frequently an unexpected surprise that no one's prepared for. Now, here's some good news though. You do not have to go into total crisis mode and become paralyzed by distress and destroy your family relationships in this fallout from this terrible heartbreak. There is another way. I like to call this first and most important phase the self-rescue stage. In the self-rescue stage, you're setting up your life to handle healing your marriage. It's no easy task, and most people just can't collapse in a heap and take weeks or months, not even days, off work to do this healing work. Yes, there's a lot of shock, trauma and grief that comes up when you discover your partner is leaving or has been cheating, wants a divorce. There's also a lot of shame, hurt, guilt and withdrawal that can happen if you're the partner who's been cheating. No matter where your place is in the events that have and probably are transpiring, I want you to know that there is a way to cope with these intense emotions while continuing to function in your everyday life and without dropping your bundle while you set up the rescue process. I call this battening down the hatches. That's battening down the hatches. So what does that mean? It means you can weather the storm. What does it mean then, really? Well, what it actually means is focusing on taking care of yourself and creating space for this phase of healing. Assessing the minimum that you absolutely must do or must be done in your life to keep things moving along. The first thing you must do in the immediate crisis short term is reduce your workload at home. Outsource cleaning, for instance. If you find ways to cut meal prep, get help with your children. In the short term, hire a nanny or a housekeeper. And if you already have this support, get more of it. Even double the hours of your nanny or housekeeper. Invest in yourself. If you've normally been the one shouldering most of the home and childcare responsibilities, you may feel even more resistance to getting this type of support. But what I want you to know is that this is an urgent but short-term situation, much like taking your marriage into the ER. It's okay to be okay with investing the money in healing your marriage. I assure you this is not as expensive as breakup is, and especially how much divorce costs, and not as hard as we're led to believe. You simply must have more time and space to take care of yourself, to rest and reduce your stress. You may also be able to reduce your workload at work. Where possible, take some time off, time out. Even a few days or a week will give you a chance to recalibrate and settle your emotions. Put some practical help in place there too. You would have to do this, if you sustained a physical injury that was debilitating in some way. If you can't take time off, then lighten your load by reprioritising tasks and looking closely at what's essential. Then do just the essentials. This period's only temporary. If you're in a high pressure position, see if you can alleviate your stress somewhat by sharing your load around, perhaps by delegating more to others. Be especially mindful of any tendencies to immerse yourself in more work and pull long overtime hours to avoid going home. I know that this can help you forget your worries for a little while, but in the end it leads to slower healing and bigger mess ups. Better to go home and just be together, even if you're crying together. If you're still living together, then I mostly encourage you to stay living in the same home during the healing process. And that's because it's much easier to reconcile this way. It's much harder to reconcile once a couple has split and one partner's moved out. Moving on is tempting and easier once the worst pain of moving out has passed. The grass may look greener. However, it's common to take this baggage with us, including the pain and resentment, which then harms the next relationship. I also want to mention your children who may be in the midst of this crisis. There's a right and a wrong time and a right and a wrong way to tell your children about your relationship changes. There's no need for children to feel uncertain and unsafe now if you and your partner do in fact work things out later. So I highly recommend couples wait for this critical conversation until they've had some work with a professional to plan the healthiest way and time for their family to separate, if and when that ends up being the case. I see many couples who are trying to do this all on their own, and they become totally sleep deprived. On the other hand, my clients spend less time staying up until sunrise, and they actually spend more time getting to the bottom of what's really going on with my guidance. Support in every way makes all the difference. First though, you must support yourself with self-care, and then support yourself with the right expert help to make your healing process as light and simple as humanly possible. Remember, This is a crisis similar to a serious health crisis or medical emergency. If you did become suddenly ill or suffered a serious injury, you wouldn't think twice about surrendering yourself to this and surrounding yourself with extra help. Taking time off or out, this is the same, except it's an emotional or psychological injury, and it is a real injury. The golden key here is truly to get the right help immediately. A skilled marriage crisis counsellor will bring yourself and your partner into emotional safety as soon as possible to assist with the fast rescue so you can repair together. The right help will show you how to break the cycle of emotional drama and desperation and to guide you to the calm waters and find that safe shore. Even if you're not 100% sure that you want to stay with your partner, take these steps to ease your transition. Get someone on your team to help you work out if you want to stay together. That's crucial. And not just any marriage counsellor. You need and deserve gold standard expertise in this most rocky period. Often at the early stages of this painful storm, one wants to stay and the other's not sure, or both are not sure. Your trust and faith in each other is being severely tested. So I say, hold on. Hold on while we work through it all. I say hold. Put a time frame on this process. I tell my clients to commit to 3 months. Take the heat out of needing to make that critical decision to break up or not. Just hold while we put in place some repair strategies. A broken marriage doesn't necessarily mean you've broken up or that you should break up. So please wrap yourself in self-care and get the right help. Don't just listen to this video. Go and take action on 2 or 3 things you've heard here today, and do it now. In the next video, I'll share with you the one agreement that makes or breaks couples who are trying to heal their marriage. You don't want to miss this, as it will determine your success in reuniting with your spouse, and that's reuniting successfully. So go to the second secret now, or if you want to start your healing, then book a Rescue Connect call with me right now. The button is below. That's free. There's nothing to lose by going forward to heal, especially when you compare seeking help with the potential multiple losses if you don't heal your marriage. Tozer, Couples Master Coach, signing off. Over to video number 2 in this series coming up. Hi, Tozer back again with secret number 2 in the How to Survive Your Marriage Crisis series. This part focuses on your commitment to repair. The desire and commitment to repair has to be awakened somewhat within you both. And I'm going to share exactly what that is so that the goodwill, soft hearts and compassion become the new normal as you release the pain from the past forever. The repair process is going to amp up your energy and vibration together as you eliminate this suffering and aim to become that golden couple who other couples admire and want to be like. No matter how low and distressed your relationships become at this point, this process will allow you to rise rapidly to a new, loving, reconnected energy. We humans have amazing resilience, especially when there's a lot at stake. And there's usually a lot at stake right here, right now. If you're in the thick of pain and heartbreak, then you may be swamped with anxious thoughts of your family disintegrating, of losing your home, of maybe losing your business, your reputation, of being alone, of flying solo. If you're dealing with a cheating betrayal, you may be consumed with raging jealousy, consumed with detective-style surveillance, accumulating investigatory evidence, asking why over and over. And as I said in secret number 1, the first video in this 3-part course, you may be stuck with emotions fluctuating between wanting to fix it 1 minute and throwing it all in the next. Decisions, to commit or not to commit. So let's focus on what the repair phase looks like and whether you are up to immersing yourself in it. Well, I liken it to fixing a physical injury, such as a broken wing on a bird or surgery on a leg injury. You need emergency care where you're closely supported by a skilled repair expert who in your situation has no judgment, but instead is full of compassion combined with specific strategies and techniques which bring you both into a sense of restored emotional security with each other. In this repair phase, I apply my specific, tried and true expert coaching, which guides you to soothe each other and entwine together to rewire, reset and rebuild your weakened, broken connection. And we do that through harnessing conscious caring and understanding, and particularly humility. The focus here is to assist you both to stay outside of the hostile, blaming and accusing combatant arena, that one of conflict, and remain in amicable, amiable, agreeable reassurance and comfort. I teach you the simple way, my fast attitude shift recipe, to instantly switch out of potentially hurtful and harmful interactions and switch over to soothing TLC mode. From negative attitude and tone to positive attitude and tone. And yes, you can do it. And yes, it works. Even if you're in the most negative state of despair right now, you can do this. I promised I would share here the crucial step to avoid destruction of your love and ultimately avoid a painful divorce. Well, we start with attitude. I show you exactly how to make this critical shift in attitude, even if you're drowning in tears and bitterness, even if you are distraught and ashamed, or jealousy has hijacked all your reasonable sensibilities. You're here because you've been through and are likely still going through an emotional tornado, even maybe a raging typhoon, or even more like a tsunami, where everything you once knew feels like it's turned inside out and upside down, maybe almost paralysed by deep emotional wounds. The repair phase has to be delicately handled as a distinctly separate precondition for recovery. And you absolutely can't do it on your own. You must have expert help and guidance. Without learning how to down-regulate emotional reactivity and turn negative sentiments into positive sentiments, then the repair phase will crash and burn, and recovery will not be sustainable, not even possible. There are 3 powerful questions I ask my couples, which help direct them to the success track to repair their marriage. And here they are. The first one is, can you remember the love you had for each other in the beginning? The second question is, what did it feel like to be drenched in the reassuring warmth of deep loving affection back then? The third question is, how would it feel to have that glow of feeling deeply cherished, restored, and the passion rekindled? These 3 questions may seem even a bit corny from the painful place you're in right now. However, they are the foundation of true successful marriage healing. At this point, I encourage you to watch secret number 3 and discover what most hurting couples don't know. And without the right expert help, they will never know. Trust me, it's way better to repair than throw away everything. It's all upside, no downside. As much as this may feel like a confronting, even ridiculous idea at the moment, I ask you, why not give repair a go over the next few months? Why not calm your emotions? Saving our marriage is much easier than we're led to believe. Yes, it's a process where you will experience some discomfort, but so is divorce, believe me, except that divorce is major discomfort, which leaves a trail of sickening bitterness. And you can avoid that. Rescue, repair, recovery. Healing your marriage is the better and easier option. So it's over to secret number 3. Find out the number 1 thing that hurting couples don't know. See you there. D. Tozer, Couples Master Coach, signing off. Hi, D. Tozer here again, and welcome back to the 3rd secret in my How to Survive Your Marriage Crisis series. In secret number 2, we welcomed in a new energy of commitment to repair. Here, in this secret, we get to shift into positivity by discovering the number 1 mistake you're probably making that destroys love, intimacy, affection, and connection at the drop of a hat. I see couples do this all the time. Even couples you think are happy, healthy, and will be married happily ever after could be doing this. I've seen plenty. And then they're struggling day to day. It's a sneaky mistake and it builds up over time. Sometimes this is the thing that drives someone to cheat. Sometimes because of this, both spouses decide they've just had enough of it and they end the marriage. And other times, the couple stays together but has absolutely no connection, peace or harmony in their relationship. They are plain miserable. If you want your marriage to truly thrive and be lifted into a new stratosphere of love, then listen closely as we dive in here. In this secret, which I call prepping for reconnection, which means preparing for reconnection, you'll learn what it takes to release old habits, keeping you stuck in drama, so that you can rebuild your broken marriage to a new level of strength, trust and support. Let me ask you, have you ever felt disappointed by your partner? Frustrated that they didn't just know what you wanted? Angry that they weren't helping you with a family or a household task or event? Have you ever had an expectation that seemed totally common sense to you, but didn't even seem to register to your partner? And how did you feel? What was your response to that? For most of my clients, these are the exact things that trigger them to go into a huge emotional reaction. Within themselves, they're raging at the other person in disbelief that that person's so out of tune with them and ignorant of their needs. They're hurt that their partner doesn't notice, doesn't hear, doesn't know, and doesn't seem to care. This number one roadblock to couples repair is reacting. That is, reacting to you or your spouse having unrealistic or unexpressed expectations. Your reaction could cause you to erupt in nasty words or to withdraw, walk out to avoid the nasty retribution. When you isolate yourself and fan the flames of your drama and anger, you continue to perpetuate the problem. Today, I want to challenge you to think about what your life and your marriage would be like if you were able to communicate your desires, your expectations and emotions to your partner without worrying about how they might react and without blaming them for your unmet needs. Can you see and feel the relief that this would bring you? The bitterness and resentment that you feel right now can either end or completely exhaust and burn you out. The weight of it's too much to carry if you want to truly be healing your union and rebuilding your relationship. The truth is that when you release your attacking position, release your need to justify and defend yourself, and stop making the accusations and assumptions in your own mind that are destroying your relationship, then you open up space for connection. I know that when couples feel a relationship is unfair, they both tend to retaliate, withdraw, create a huge storm of emotions, jam-packed full of resentment, leaving them buried up to their armpits in what I term grudge sludge. It's that thick, heavy, emotional blanket of grudges, which suffocates all the positive energy in your marriage. And the best way to heal this destructive cycle is to end it before it begins. Learning to prevent bitterness and resentment that leads to emotional reactions can take time and practice, and that's why it's such an important part of my work with couples in crisis. In order to do this in your relationship, you must embrace honesty and vulnerability and start to write a new story about your partner. Write it within yourself. As long as you negatively react to your partner and view him or her that way, that's right, think negatively about him or her, we will only get more of the same in return from them. When you embrace these new qualities and start to think new thoughts about your partner, you can slow down your reactivity and you can connect and understand him or her. So in summary, do you have unrealistic expectations, standards which are not clearly expressed, or perhaps not expressed at all, but you think your husband or wife should just know? Can read your mind because you know each other so well. If you answer yes, then that could be killing your marriage, and as small as it seems, it could have brought you to this heartbreaking crisis today. So let's recap the secrets that you've learned in this 3-part series. Secret 1, self-care. In this secret, we learn how important it is for you to set up support in your personal and professional life to allow you the time, space, attention and energy necessary to embark on your marriage healing journey. Secret number 2 was the commitment to repair. In this secret, you discovered the attitude shift, which will soften you both and bring clarity to where you're at in being all in and committed to this process. And also how to hold on well if you're not fully devoted and unsure if you are able to give every chance to heal this. Then to secret number 3, prepping or preparing for reconnection. In this secret, you've seen the number one mistake couples make that kill their relationship, so that you can shift this now and leave bitterness and resentment in the past. Armed with these 3 secrets, you can transform your healing process from one of confusion to one of clarity and warmth. However, this journey can still be unpredictable and overwhelming, often exhausting, without expert guidance each step of the way. You simply cannot do it alone. My clients see their healing happen rapidly and with less relapsing into old patterns than those who try going it alone. How do I know? Because I frequently have couples approach me some months after trying to go it alone with their books, podcasts, Dr. Google research, etc. However, they cannot extinguish the anguish themselves. It takes specialised help. Books, podcasts and so on are wonderful, often essential extra resources, but it's the personalised, skilled and expert guidance which brings effective, sustainable, lasting marriage healing. Hence, I invite you to take the next step and book in a Connect introductory call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together. I've worked with over 5,000 couples and counting and have seen a success rate of way over 75% when both parties are committed to healing. Instead of being another number in the divorce statistics, you could be the couple who beats the odds with my unconditional care, guidance and expert support that's come from working in couples therapy for over 30 years. So just click on the gold button below this video to book in that introductory Connect call today. It's obligation free and there's a gift you will get if you find it's not helpful. When we get on the call, we'll map out exactly what steps you need to take to heal your marriage, because every love is unique and should be treated that way. I can't wait to speak with you soon and get you on the right healing track. Tozer, Couples Master Coach, signing off. So it's Dee back again. And now you've heard how to settle enough to be able to consider whether staying together and repairing is an option here. If there's enough feeling there and enough understanding about what happened. This part 2 shows you the potential relationship dysfunction that possibly created a vulnerability to this temptation. And this temptation is where the wayward spouse, I call that, or the spouse who offended by cheating, was just not emotionally strong enough, simply not equipped to resist. That's right, to resist the temptation. And in doing so, that could be enough for the very hurt partner to say, well, if he or she isn't strong enough, wasn't strong enough, then how can I ever trust again? How can I make sure this isn't going to happen to me again? They're going to wobble again. So the best way forward for that is to understand potentially the possibility, what was going on leading up to the affair, to the cheating. Was there an emotional dysregulation or an emotional dysfunctionality between you in your marriage? You were disconnected. You were living life side by side, going crazy ways in the pathways of life that it takes, especially raising kids, running careers. You know, was it enough there that the hurt partner, if that's you watching this, can look at what is probably a way to heal? And I know it's a very, very powerful way to heal. And not just to heal on your own and go forward, but to heal your marriage, to heal your relationship. That's right. So part 2 video provides sound guidance as to the way forward with this. So off you go. I hope you find it very beneficial. Hello there. I'm Dee Tozer, Couples Master Coach, and I work almost exclusively with couples in crisis after some kind of infidelity. If you found your way here, you've probably already had a look at my book called Affair Repair and How do Couples Repair After an Affair. If not, there's a link at the bottom of this video to be able to buy that on Amazon. It's a low price book to help you kick you right along without great expense. So this course here is called After the Affair. And if you're watching it, it's because we know you've been through, are going through a lot of great pain, hurt, confusion even about what to do when either you found out your spouse has had an affair, had an infidelity, a betrayal, a cheating of some kind. It may not be a full-blown affair, but for you, it feels like a full-on betrayal. Or you could be the person, the partner in the relationship, the spouse, who did cheat, who did betray trust and faith. So this course will put you on the right track to healing. It is quite comprehensive in helping you understand how somebody, one of you, got to the point where you were tempted to be involved with someone else in whatever capacity, and then how you start understanding the path forward to be able to repair together, or even work out if you want to repair together, because that's a tricky question, isn't it, right at the beginning, is are you able to even get your head around wanting to repair? And you're probably here also because you're searching for some sort of therapy, some sort of counselling help. And either you've had a call with me and it wasn't the right fit for whatever reason, or you are wanting to work with somebody more local to you, someone you can actually see face to face, or somebody more local to your culture and community. And so you've decided to seek out that person, that therapist or coach. And you've taken this course on as an in-between, which is fantastic for it. It's a great bridging course. It's a great springboard to help you go into therapy. It's not enough just on its own. You will need some therapy, some guidance to take you through this whole thing, repair your marriage and revive it. So on that note, I'm just going to share my screen and take you through the whole process. So what I wanted to say and start with is that in today's world of pressure from everywhere, raising kids, running businesses, even both of you working in high pressure positions perhaps, especially for high achievers, where at least one is a high achiever, it could be that both of you are, you're under so much scrutiny from family and friends, even your reputation, and so many demands on you. And many find, you can read through this, the day-to-day pressures of being a high performer, a high achiever, both exhilarating, yes, and exhausting. It's not just the one driven business person in the relationship that's under pressure, or if both of you are driven business people or driven in your career, then you're both going to be under pressure that way. But even if one isn't under so much pressure, both of you could well be under the microscope of society due to the position one of you is in, maybe possibly the power you have, your education, and you can often both feel misunderstood, underappreciated mainly, and in some cases very lonely. And that's how the pressure gives way. Fighting happens, or detached distance creeps in, and you become like friends. I'll take you through. I have 7 couple types I talk about who are likely to be vulnerable to one partner cheating, one partner seeking attention or responding to attention from someone else. So there's 7 here, but the top 3 are more likely to be vulnerable and tempted and be unfaithful. So there's the bickering and argumentative couple, right? So they're likely to be just constantly nitpicking each other. Yeah, all of that. Bickering, argumentative. The communication breaks down. The togetherness union breaks down. Intimacy breaks down. And then someone else paying attention is very attractive. Friends with no passion. This one here is important. Because often couples will say to me when I'm helping them, but we're such good friends. Yes, but we don't have physical intimacy. Friends, no passion, no physical intimacy, no excitement to be with each other, no real interest in being with each other than to do what friends do together. Very vulnerable to be tempted to an affair. Then we've got disconnected and distant, which happens over years of maybe lots of bickering and arguments, or maybe just we avoided the arguments. We've just been so busy doing our own thing and looking after kids and whatever, we just disconnected, got more and more distant, don't know how to bring the union and the togetherness back together. Then we've got the bottom four. Now, it seems funny, doesn't it? High conflict couples who fight a lot, who are volatile, are less likely to have an affair than somebody who's in the bickering, argumentative one, because they're more at the high conflict volatility, they're more passionate about everything. They're more likely to be able to get over it too. High conflict, then we're over it, we make up. We make love and we make up. That's high conflict volatility, still tempted by somebody paying a lot of attention, but less likely to proceed with it. The next one's controlling, where one or both partners are controlling of the other one's activities, where they go, what they do, how they do it. They want to know everything. That would seem like maybe one would feel like escaping that pressure on them and be tempted to an affair too, but less likely, again, than up here, friends with no passion and disconnected, because they're still connected. They're connected through control and they like it. And it's works very well with couples, good couples master coaching for these couples and these to revive and rekindle the relationship without all this, or remove the high conflict and remove the controlling, if they come along for that help, but they're not as likely to as the top three. Then we've got the abusive, coercive controller. Well, that's definitely not somebody that's going to be likely to have an affair that I know about. It's certainly not coming for help. If they were having any kind of cheating, betrayal on the side, they're more likely to do it in a more manipulative way, which could be emotional or online. It wouldn't necessarily be in physical contact with someone else, because controlling and coercive control typically controls one person at a time, their spouse, and all their efforts and energy go into that. And there's not really a lot of space there, and they're not seeking approval or meaningful connection from someone else. Then we've got the obvious physical violence. Well, where there's physical violence, again, it's abusive, domestic assault, domestic violence. The incidence in my book, in my world, of affairs is again low, and that could well be because we don't know about it. It's not that it is low, it's just we don't know about it as couples therapists, couples coaches, because they never would turn up or be involved in wanting to get therapy. They would only do it to control their partner more. That's what happens. So they're your types. So I'm now looking more at the bickering, argumentative, friends with no passion, disconnected and distance. If you're one of those, everything that's coming up is relevant. Even if you're one of the other ones at the bottom, it's still going to be relevant. It's not so fixable. And this is so important, this part, the right approach. What is the right approach to this, to repairing a marriage? You know, if it's been rocked by an affair, the right approach makes a world of difference, not only to the survival rate of the couple and the marriage, but also to the quality of that repaired relationship. You don't want to just get average, just keep going back to being the disconnected couple, etc. again. And we also, importantly, we want the psychological welfare of both of you in the marriage and their relationship satisfaction to be fully repaired, elevated as much as possible over the long term. That's why the right approach is so crucial. And this is where I go to. Staying just isn't enough. Staying together and getting average help, not really good help, or not the right help anyway, isn't enough. And forgiving isn't enough. People say it is, forgive and forget, but it's not. I say it is really all about understanding the factors that led to the crisis. Yes. Then healing them and doing some risk management prevention work, if and when required. The right approach. So we're going to be going into that approach in the next series of slides here. Firstly, let me start with betrayal does come in many forms. Eyes can stray. Attention from another person is tempting. I'm speaking probably fairly obvious. So the poor state of a marriage relationship may make this attention irresistible, is the point, okay? So betrayal can be flirting at the gym. You can read it all here. Cheeky social media posts, flirting, a fling at work, a strong emotional connection at work even, a lot of stress in the workplace, and we start talking about workplace things and we start talking about our home life. And then that goes on to get more connected. We start seeking out that person to share emotional conversations because we can't have them anywhere else. And it can also be with a parent in a children's or kids' sporting team, because you're both out there watching the team and only one spouse is there and the other one isn't because of job responsibilities or disinterest or whatever. So that's a common combination I have where an affair happens or some sort of betrayal happens between parents watching children's sport. And it can go out then also to the obvious full-blown physical affair, which lasts for weeks, months, even years. And can be repaired even after months and years. I do it all the time. That's not so much what I'm covering in this, because that does require strong coaching, okay, very tailored coaching. But the rest of this course is about the approach that one would take if you're caught in that, to be able to work out where to get the right help. And then I'm adding on to this one night stands on, boys or girls' nights out. And then the obvious, to the use of sex workers, which a lot of people don't think of betrayal as cheating, but a heck of a lot do. So coming to understanding more, is an affair a cry for help? Well, from my perspective, I believe it is. It can be a desperate act to salvage the self that the person feels has been sacrificed in the marriage. Sacrificed by circumstances, by lack of time issues, competing demands, job, children, family, whatever. Or the most important, the lack of sexual intimacy for a number of reasons, and all of those above could be part of the reasons. That's right. I know it's a polarizing idea, but stick with me here. I'm not excusing this behavior. I'm helping you to understand it from a compassionate and risk management perspective. That's really important. There are two burning questions. Why doesn't every person in an unhappy marriage have an affair then? Question one. Next one. Who is vulnerable to falling into an affair? I've already given you a few clues about that. Let's move on. So let's look at restlessness versus vulnerability. Restlessness is a very important distinction. Restlessness may be more noticeable in someone who is more of a thrill seeker, a change seeker, someone who enjoys variety across many areas of life. This may align more with the concept of a potential serial offender, the once a cheater, always a cheater idea. These persons are not typically looking to repair their marriage because they don't see it as a problem. They're just looking for more variety outside of the marriage and think it's okay. So, which clearly it's not, and it's cheating. That is the once a cheater, always a cheater. So if you're watching this course now because of that, you've been through that, you've got that going on with you, I will help you in the rest of the material here to understand it better and find a way to deal with it. It won't stop that once a cheater, always a cheater. I doubt it, but you may modify yourself around it and adapt. So the next one is vulnerability. Now, this is the most important distinction Because on the other hand, vulnerability comes from emotional neglect in a marriage. That's right. That's an emotional neglect is a relationship pattern in which an individual's affection, the needs for affection, are consistently disregarded, ignored, invalidated, or unappreciated by their significant other, by their spouse. Emotional and physical loneliness can occur. This sends a strong message that we don't count and we don't matter. It can lead to emotional starvation. Emotional neglect to emotional starvation in a marriage is often the main reason behind an affair, some sort of betrayal. So I'm taking you to the beginning of understanding what makes a great relationship so you can start pulling your pieces together. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the diamond of what I call everlasting love. And here it is. So in the center of this diamond here, we've got the three key components, elements, that must be there for a relationship to thrive for the long term. You have to have fondness for each other, feel it. It means you get over things easily. You're still going to have disagreements and differences of opinions, but they're not going to turn into nasty fights. Although some high conflict couples still do have fondness. They just flare up quickly, but they come down quickly too. Have to show affection and have affection shown to us. We need to feel that. Otherwise, it does come under the category of emotional neglect. And we have to have intimacy. Now, intimacy comes into two parts: physical, obviously, sexual intimacy. That's extremely important. And then I talk emotional intimacy, where you share your hopes and your dreams together. We don't feel we have to watch our words and what we say, because what we say is understood, cared about, it matters, we matter. So they're the three things in the center of the diamond. They're like the sparkle in the relationship and the sparkle in the diamond. So for those three to be there, we have this arm of the diamond and this one, two bottom arms. We have to have emotional warmth to be able to show and feel fondness and affection and be intimate. There must be emotional warmth. Now, it doesn't have to be there all the time. It needs to be there enough of the time, the majority of the time, maybe 70 to 80% of the time, if you could put a percentage on it. And then the other thing we have to have with each other is comfort. We have to feel comfortable. We have to feel reassurance and certainty that you're my person. Yes, you're here for me. We love each other. I look after you. You look after me. We don't get it perfectly right all the time, but most of the time we do. And those two together, emotional warmth and comfort, feed us and fill up the cup of fondness, affection, and intimacy. Now, for emotional warmth and this comfort to be there, we have to have the other three at the top of the diamond working well. So I'm going to start with the one on the left. We have to have cooperation. Now, I know you read so much about compromise. So I like to put it under the heading of a cooperative, positive compromise, because cooperation does include compromise. It means we are willingly cooperating and even collaborating to bring about compromise that works for both of you, rather than a compromise being imposed, which causes a negative response. So we've got cooperation there as that main key word. Then we're going to the far other side here, camaraderie. Camaraderie comes from being on the same team. And in the corporate sense, in your business life, you might know it. As a couple at home, though, it's not so well known, not so much thought about, and it often doesn't exist. Camaraderie means, if you're in a team, in business, whatever, you've got to have each other's back. I say camaraderie with a couple means you're going to have each other's back no matter what. Tough times come on, whatever. You stand by each other even in the wobbly moments, and don't let the stress, distress tear you apart, so you're at each other. So we have, and that camaraderie is much easier to maintain and sustain when you've got good cooperation, as in including compromise within cooperation. You've got cooperation, camaraderie. Now, those two C words can only come about with this magnificent word at the top here, which is goodwill. We have to have goodwill for each other. Goodwill to want to work it out. Goodwill to be cooperative and collaborative. Goodwill to hear the other person out, your spouse out. Goodwill to go with some of their ideas. Goodwill to be able to ask things and know you're going to get heard. Now, I'm not talking perfection. Again, we're not talking 100% of the time, but mostly goodwill overrides everything. Then cooperation flows. Camaraderie is easy. Emotional warmth is there. You feel the full-on comfort of reassuring certainty, and therefore fondness, affection, and intimacy naturally flow. It just makes it all so much easier. Just reiterating, it's so important. Fondness, show affection, and intimacy, which is love making and making love. Okay, so love making is creating an environment of love around you, a loving connection around you, that if you go off the track for a little bit and have a bit of a difference of opinion, whatever, you can get back on track quickly because you could laugh about it. You can have a hug. You've got all these things working for you to bring it back online again. We talked the warmth, the emotional warmth. I'm just reminding you here. Comfort and reassuring certainty. Yes, we come to compromise and collaboration sitting underneath cooperation. So collaboration means you can collaborate and work out the problem and work out what does one or other have to give up or give in on. Instead of one person being told they have to give in, they're told they have to give up whatever it is because they have to compromise. That's not how a great relationship works. Camaraderie, as I said, each other's back no matter what. Goodwill. Now, goodwill comes in high, moderate, and low goodwill, which is on a slope. Why? Because that's how we are in life. We have moods, we have people around us, we have high and low energy. We're on different spots in different days. So goodwill comes and goes. As long as it doesn't disappear totally, we are okay. In fact, we're doing well. We want to have high goodwill when we can, and therefore all the major events you go to, parties, celebrations, whatever, and you have that at the beginning of a relationship. Moderate is where we pretty well live all the time. That's our general way of living together. And it slides down to low when things get a bit rough between you. But you can pull it back up to moderate at least in the main, if you've got a strong relationship, and up to high on the days you need to. The problem is when ill will creeps in. And ill will usually starts off low, moves to moderate, and then can get to very high ill will. And then we're really out of sorts with each other. And getting back from that to goodwill is tough. Back to remind you here, goodwill at the top of this. This is this diamond. Take a screenshot. Put it on your phone. Even put it as your wallpaper on your phone. It's worth having it there all the time. Now I'm going to take you to the next thing that happens. A chain reaction. I talk a lot about chain reactions. And here we go. So if we can accept, and I suggest we do, that that what we say and we do are definitely actions. If we can accept sometimes that what we don't say and what we don't do are still actions, we either actively don't say something in a particular way that would be good, would make things nicer, would start to repair, or we actively don't do something that would help, then they are all actions, all four of them. And for every action, we have a reaction, and we know that. That's standard general physics. I'm not going into the details of it here because I'm talking emotional reactions only here. So an action gives a reaction, and then we have a consequence. So with a couple in my chain reaction model, we're going to have a consequence or consequences from the reaction that happened here. Yeah, we are. And that consequence can lead to repercussions. So it's not just a consequence, there's other things. So the consequence can be of a reaction, you're upset, you're whatever, then you shut down, you walk away, whatever. But then another repercussion could be you cannot connect warmly and intimately again, and we can't talk about it. So we get more distant. And therefore the consequence becomes, and the repercussion becomes, we become disconnected and distant. Okay? And because that's setting in, this repercussion, consequence will bring another reaction. That next reaction might be milder, it might be more out there yelling, or it might be milder, a pullback, a withdrawal. It could be passive aggression even in here. Another consequence, the other partner feels terrible. We don't matter. We feel the emotional neglect that starts setting in. For every chain reaction, we'll end up with a sense of emotional disrespect, pretty well always. So we go, another consequence, reaction, repercussions, consequence, and we end up with what I call grudge sludge building. So I liken grudge sludge to emotional quicksand. So with physical quicksand, we need help to get out of it. Humans, animals need, because it's sucking you down. You can't get out on your own. Or the same with emotional quicksand. Your partner, your spouse needs to help you out. If you're getting stuck in grudge sludge, we need to get both of you working on the same team, camaraderie, cooperation, to get you out of it. So the emotional warmth can come back, the comfort comes back, and your grudges disappear. Grudges really being a whole pile of resentments together. So reiterating, I like to go over and just remind you what we say and do are clearly actions. For this purpose, what we don't say and don't do are also actions. What's a reaction? Well, a reaction is when we don't stop and think about the consequences. We react instead and then have to cope with the consequences. If we're thinking about the consequences first, we would be responding to create a different outcome. There you go, consequence again. Repercussions, most important, because the repercussions can go on for days just after one chain reaction. And you can have multiple chain reactions in a day, in an hour. And then the good old grudge sludge I'm talking about. Here we go. That is your chain reaction. You might want to take a screenshot of that, although they are the whole slide situation you will have there. So where to then? Where to now? Let's go here. We've got a concept put forward by Relational Life Training, which is run by Terry Real, and he talks about towards and away, and I love it because this talks about how we push our spouse offside or away from us, and there's 5 A words that pull this together. Some of this is from Terry and a little bit my own flavour across the top of it. So away means you've got your spouse offside, you're both offside, and that usually starts with something that's said that's accusatory in the chain reaction, okay? It could be accusatory, a criticism, a judgment, a blame. You didn't, you should have, you're not, you aren't, you need to. All those sentence starters bring in a sense of blame and being accused. And as soon as we feel accused as human beings, a sense of it, even if we haven't heard an accusation, just a sense of it, we have an involuntary movement in our polyvagal neuroscience brain, in our area of coping with anxiety and distress. We go antagonistic. It's involuntary. We can't help it. It could be hairs on the back of your neck. It can be like a big arc up. It's an antagonistic response to feeling accused. And then we go immediately into being adversarial, like opponents on different sides of the fence. We know in sporting teams that's okay. They can come off the field, they're still good mates, because they haven't had the accusatory antagonism in there. But as a couple, when we've had that lead up and we're feeling pushed away, we become adversarial in a way where we're going to push back usually, push away or pull ourselves away, withdraw, avoid it. or say something that pushes your spouse away. So they avoid, they pull back. And there ends up the next move being acrimonious. We get a bad feeling between us, which converts to bitterness. Bitterness. We get bitter with each other. Acrimonious. It's a nasty, horrible way we are. We're offside with each other. We're bitter. We become alienated. So we're not really interested in the other person. We go quiet, silent, sit in different rooms. We often don't go to events or occasions because we just don't want to be together. That's what happens with away or offside. I'm sure you can relate to that. A lot of that has happened in the lead up to a partner or a spouse feeling neglected emotionally, feeling pushed away, where even if they've been part of pulling themselves away because of the bickering or the discontent, basically not being connected, just disconnection, even at the lowest level. That's what happens. So you can relate to how that might have put someone in a place where they're vulnerable to a temptation. More detail. Accusatory has not just connotations of blame and criticism, but that you're not worthy. You're blamed. You are stupid. Often it's a put down. You're stupid. What do you mean you can't think of that? Accusatory says, you're wrong. I know better than you, inferring you are less than me, and perhaps even that you are stupid. And none of us, no human beings, take that well. We're not going to take that well. That's where the antagonism comes in. It sets up what I call a frill-necked lizard. In Australia, we have a lizard that as soon as it feels threatened, the frill goes up its feet again, and it takes an oppositional position, adversarial behaviour, oppositional straight away. And oppositional opponents, once you're opposed, one or other or both will go for a win. They want to win their point. It's going to be my way, not yours. And the other one goes, no, it's my way, I'm right. So what comes out of that is that a partner might go to contempt. They might have already brought contempt in before this at the accusatory end. Immediately, it's not just criticism, it's criticism with contempt, which brings somebody down. Contempt is looking down on somebody, it's belittling them, it's demeaning them. So that contempt is an automatic go-to to be able to win by bringing the other partner down. And that could have been present. I find so much contempt has been present in relationships where a spouse strays off and enjoys the attention from someone else. Harshly expressed evidence, which is set, that means what you've got that you want to say to tell the other person how bad they are, is the other way to win. It's the go-to, is to say things harshly and nastily. So then I ask, how can loving reconnection happen in this space? And you might be sitting there looking at your partner, if you're both watching this together, your spouse, husband, wife, and going, yeah, we did do that. So I will be guiding you seriously. Make sure you do not, that you avoid saying you did that or you did that. Because if we do that, we're just reinventing the wheel. We keep going back onto that chain reaction. You can't get off it. And how can a loving reconnection happen in that space then? Acrimonious. The bitter resentment becomes embedded and that you get rigidly inflexible. Both partners feel unheard and invalidated, like they don't matter. Both do. So what does alienation mean? It means you're withdrawing your affections. It's similar to an estrangement. You become estranged from each other. It leaves each partner with hurt feelings and no sense, no idea how to make a repair attempt. You get in a stuck state. You're alienated. It's a big thing to lift yourself out of it and know what to do. We're going there now. This is the other part of the away and towards, or towards and away scenario. And that's how you stay on side or get back on side once you've fallen into the big hole of being offside. So towards behavior, these are the 5 things. We've got amicable, not such a well-known word. I'll tell you more in a moment. But amiable is even less well-known. But they're the 2 essential ingredients at the beginning of towards onside behavior. Then we can become agreeable, accepting of each other and our differences, and we align. So let me go to this. So amicable means to be polite and courteous, and most importantly, respectful to each other. Now, it's really difficult, isn't it? If you're coming out of the away, offside sense, okay, of a chain reaction that's pushed you offside. So we have to make a really concerted effort to be polite to each other, to be courteous, and of course, the most important thing, be respectful. It's very hard to pull yourself out of sludge, the grudgy, sludgy quicksand, emotional quicksand, and be respectful. But you have to do it. It's a very important step. Now to amiable. Amiable comes from the French word ami, which is a friend. It's a close, good, dear friend, mon ami. It also is an anglicised version of aimer, which means to love in French. So amiable is a mix of words that means to be warm and likeable. That's right. Now, we will often go out and be warm and likeable to family and good friends. We're not like it to our spouse, though, especially after we've had a big fallout. So this is an important first step. After we go amicable, we become courteous and respectful, we become that warmer step. We warm in to be likeable, put on a likeable demeanor, attitude about you, and show the most important thing, loving kindness to each other. That's usually what's been missed. That's the biggest hole of all in every couple I've ever worked with after a big betrayal. Loving kindness disappeared and could not be brought back because they didn't know how to, which is where I'm taking you in a minute, so you know how to. So that ultimately you become lovable. Each spouse becomes lovable, that your spouse wants to love you, finds you lovable, finds you endearing, wants to be closer, wants to heal and repair. They're the 3 important things. Take a screenshot while you're watching this now. Very important to show, to be warm and likeable, show loving kindness, and ultimately to be lovable. Not to be loving, but that's part of being lovable. You show being loving, like loving kindness, point 2, and ultimately to be lovable. They want to love you. Your spouse wants to love you. Then the next word we had there was agreeable. To have an agreeable demeanor says, okay, then I see your point. That's the approach you have. That is an agreeable demeanor. It's like a hail fellow, well-matched or whatever. Anyway, somebody in a good, happy mood will probably always say, okay, then I see you. Very light. It doesn't mean you're going to agree to everything. It's about the attitude and the approach you have to the other person's idea or thought or suggestion. Doesn't mean to agree to everything. Don't take it that way. Agreeable means you're going to go, oh, yes, I just remembered that saying, hail fellow, well met. That means you meet somebody who is agreeable, who's pretty well bright and chirpy on the exterior. They might be hiding things behind and in deeper in, but up front, you see a person you like, you want to be around, and it works really well. It doesn't mean to agree to everything, though. It's about attitude and approach. Now, accepting, what does that mean? Accepting is all about your differences, because you're going to have differences. No 2 people are the same. You already know it. But unfortunately, if you're in this spot watching this, the differences have what have probably brought you here. We have not been able to work through our differences and accept them. Accepting our differences is key. Then the next part goes back to the respect word, respecting those differences. Okay? And how to do it. And then I say acknowledging and respecting strengths on both sides and building on those strengths. That's what accepting is. Next, aligning. That's acknowledging. We are on the same side. We are on the same team. We're not about winning and scoring a point. No, each partner's opinion is just as valid as the others. There are no accusations of right or wrong. There's no need to be, and there aren't any when we align. Accusations aren't even part of the process when we align. That's right. Each partner's opinion is just as valid as the others. That's the platform, the solid framework, that foundation we start to heal from. Now I'm going to talk about this, which is really important. That's coming to that, who is right and who is wrong. And it's how it evolves over time. This has been developed, iOS and COS, for over 20 years now, well before Apple iOS operating systems came along. Nothing to do with it. What it means, and it's my own proprietary stuff I brought forward years ago, iOS stands for the individual operating system that you've developed in life from your family of origin, your upbringing, your experiences in life, your internal makeup, intergenerational stuff, whatever that is. You have developed an individual operating system by the time you meet your future spouse, okay? Then we go through, in the first 12 to 18 months of a relationship, building a couple's operating system. The trouble is we don't usually build one in that time that lasts. And it doesn't take long. So 18 months in, maybe, sometimes sooner. A lot of it depends on how soon we're living together. And then how soon after that we've got children coming along. Do we revert back to the individual operating system? I like this, I do that. I'll show you. So usually each spouse can recognize their own individual operating system, and they're often very proud of it. It opens the way to talk about the impact of each spouse's iOS individual operating system and what it's having on the other spouse, which is sabotaging their couple's operating system. And that usually is what happens to send the relationship off course and blocks the warmth. The warmth reinforces close connection, and without it, emotional neglect creeps in. And that's when people are reverting back to their iOS soon, and they forget they were working on their COS, or they're not even thinking about it at all. And that's why I bring it out as a major point here. And worthy of you having a good look at that, okay? Have a good think about it. Write some notes about your individual operating system. And then you can sit and talk about how your couple's operating system will work better. And this next little stage might help you. So other help that's available here is understanding why this is coaching, not therapy. I think that's important. Up to this point, every point I've covered has been coaching, teaching, educating you, bringing an awareness up without taking long time of digging down through your childhood and family of origin and all the past emotions that have caused you. So couples master coaching isn't about what your whole lifestyle's caused you to come to the point where you've either shown emotional neglect to your spouse, or even each of you have emotionally neglected each other and emotional starvations come in. In that little glimpse I've given you already, that should have brought you over 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes, to the point of knowing what brought it on without having to go through the agonizing, continuing to stay in the forever pain cycle of what brought you to be who you are, so that you can get ready to repair this and rekindle your relationship after all the hurt. So I'm just talking here about what is the focus here of a coach, because this is not therapy. So the coach is focusing on present and future, a little bit of reflection back to the past, a little bit. The therapist, though, focuses more on the past and working through emotional issues, and that can keep you bogged down in the grudges, which I call as you can see there, grudge, sludge, emotional quicksand, and a pain cycle forever going round and round and round. I've had people come to me who've had 4 years of therapy, couples therapy, after an affair and haven't got anywhere. They're still stuck in the same spot. So as with physical quicksand, someone's got to get you out of it. Okay, I could be that person. That's what I do. Or another couples coach, couples master coach, somebody who blends coaching and therapy together to bring you through it as quickly as possible, to minimize the pain, not keep you trapped in that pain cycle, which takes us to the approach. Coaches are practical, action-oriented, okay? We show you tools and give you strategies to make fast progress. You don't want to be stuck like this for a long time. Whereas, I'm just not going to repeat too much of the next paragraph, this therapist can unfortunately keep you revisiting your pain cycle. This is no disrespect to therapists, but it doesn't help after affairs, okay? Instead of ditching the pain cycle and replacing it with positive close togetherness cycle and renewing that, I mean, that is what I do, and that's what coaches would do more. I guide the shaping, or couples coaching, master coaching, guides the shaping of this close togetherness. And coaches typically have specialised training in how to deliver this guidance and how to future pace it so that you can cope well and take it on board and apply it straight away. Whereas the therapists are more extensive training in mental health problems, at treatment and therapy models and methods that take quite a long time to work through. As a couples master coach, this is all blended in, integrated to bring the best of both worlds. So how does treatment fit in here then? Because I often hear that when people are asking me. So if you're stuck and don't know what to do and think you need treatment, or the person that had the affair or that did the betrayal needs treatment, I would tend to lean more towards needs coaching. The person that's been hurt might need treatment more to help them soothe and settle. But what we want you both to do is stabilize, to be able to embrace the new world around you that this has brought, hurtful world, and how to push through it and come out the other side with more strength and better together, and hopefully better than you've ever been. So coaching is about helping clients achieve a relationship makeover, a whole life personal growth thing. And even though some people think it's about treatment, it's not. And therapy is all about treatment more. It may have a bit of coaching involved with it. But it is more of the long-term. And in my opinion, long-term therapy is not productive and helpful for couples, especially after a betrayal. Then what's the significance of the master in Couples Master Coach? Well, we have all the things, don't we? Masterminds, master classes, master chocolatiers, master builders, master plumbers, all of this, master life, masters of all sorts of things. Though I do suggest people might think the significance of mastery has been diminished or even lost, but I don't agree with that. Not in this case, because the integrated content and coaching skills provided by what I've been telling you up until now, when combined with already accumulated expert training and sufficient experience in couples therapy, whatever it's as, brings a level of mastery in guiding successful relationship makeover in couples, whatever the crisis was that brought them to it, particularly those after infidelity though. So there are books available on Amazon. All of these books are available. And the one on the bottom here, the bottom, Get Your Relationship Right, is this one, okay? And it says, get your relationship right, what's gone wrong, and how to get it right, okay? So it's full of interesting things that you look at to talk through and discuss. It's not a workbook, it's not homework, it's called a playbook for couples to be able to talk through the issues, the things in it. So it talks about being emotionally negative, intentionally positive, relationally positive. It talks about all of those things. And it talks about how to get to be relationally positive, because usually after something like this, you've got more relationally negative in the beginning. But what led to this infidelity happening was probably to do with relational negativity anyway. So we've got that book down here. It's got 60 odd pages in it. After the Affair, oh no, that one's Affair Repair, the main book. And then these 4 little books here, I've got little pieces of gold in them, very inexpensive, little tips in them. They're all available on Amazon that show you how to bring yourself into positive emotionality together. And then on top of that, there are 14 videos to look at here. And the links to these are below in the course, okay, which take you through all the questions you would ask about doing the 90-day program with me or another couples master coach, and why, and it will help you understand why you've gone for the course now, for this to help you soothe and settle and understand a bit more how disconnected you became, which couple you were beforehand, and where the emotional neglect or starvation was. And these 14 videos answer questions about what's blocked you or held you back from taking or immersing yourselves into couples master coaching. I'm not here to push that, but if you want the best healing, that's where it's going to come, and it's how it's going to come, all right? The best revival, rekindling, makeover of your relationship, that's where it's coming from. So, yes, that whole idea of that program, that's 90 days, as you know about it, it goes against conventional couples therapy. However, it does work for more than 94% of my couples, and it gets them properly re-established together in a way that they can't get to. I've not known a couple get to it in a time frame that's not a terrible marathon of pain. 90 days is not a marathon. 18 months to 2 to 4 years post an infidelity is. It's a marathon. It's an endurance marathon of pain, is how I describe it. Just going to stop the share and come back to me on the full screen to talk to you a bit more. Because while I went there and talked more about what the program's about, is because I can only show so much on an online situation that can help you reposition your relationship in preparation for repairing it. But to be able to fully repair it yourselves is incredibly difficult. You need a coach and a mentor guiding you. That's it. You do need that. This course that you've just purchased and watched and gone through is here to show you what got you into the state and how to stabilize, to make a decision, the right decision, whether it's to stay together and repair or to part, okay, to separate. Usually when couples do that first phase and they look at the diamond of goodwill, they look at their chain reactions, their frequent chain reactions, and how the repercussions and the grudge sludge build. And then they move to understanding the towards and away. They can see where they got caught in all of that. And then to take the other angle of the individual operating system and the couple's operating system that consolidates it. And they can see what brought them to the situation where emotional neglect came in, to even to the extent of emotional starvation. That all comes from Susan Johnson's, who's a emotionally focused therapist expert. She led it, she developed it, that whole program, if you've come across that. It also brings you to understanding that those, if you look at the diamond, that's all about a good, strong, solid attachment, secure attachment with each other. When you get into the chain reaction with repercussions, grudge sludge building, detachment is happening. Some people We all have different attachment styles, and some people detach more easily than others. They can't tolerate rejection, emotional pain as much as another person. So in a couple, you've got one that's more tolerant, one that's less. One will detach sooner or more strongly than the other. So detachment comes in. Once that detachment comes in the chain reaction, and then we've got a lot of away offside behavior happening, that keeps reinforcing the detachment. So to be able to restore attachment, even if one is a more secure attachment, needs to be coached and showing you how to do it. All right. So then your individual operating system, which has been has really taken over and reinforced the detachment, takes a lower sense of importance, and the couple's operating system comes in and it forges a better bond. It brings closer togetherness for you. It takes you to the point of being able to stay attached securely in a relationship that thrives for the long term. So that's really what I'm here to say to you. So I'm wishing you all the very, very best in whatever healing path you take, that the right decision for you as two individuals gets made if you're both watching it together, or for one who's watching it. And you might be revisiting the idea of coming in for some coaching and immersing in the 90-day program with me or with someone else. So there's a link at the bottom of this video as well, which will show you how you can connect again to book another call to explore the idea of immersing in the coaching program. So I hope that's been really helpful to show you, to identify for you what went wrong, where your marriage was at before this happened, and that you can see hope to repair it. Now, I'll just round off, though, by saying some people might be looking at this and thinking, well, I still don't really get why this affair happened. We were in a very good place. Our marriage was very strong, and I have heard that along the way. And yet somebody was tempted. So I like people to just look underneath, dig a bit deeper and see, was it really strong? Or was somebody more putting on a good face to keep the peace, to stay harmonious? But they weren't having their emotional cup filled up. And you don't have to fill it up all the time. We're not talking about this being perfect. We're talking a good, sound, solid relationship that thrives, where we can stay in that goodwill diamond for 70 to 80% of the time. And the rest of the time, when we're not in the goodwill diamond, we're not in the worst ill will. We might be in low goodwill, but we don't head off into the very nasty, destructive, pushing someone away, pulling ourselves away behavior. So I hope that helps. And on that note, I will leave you to work it through. You've got all those resources available on Amazon, and reach out to me if you need. Tozer signing off for now.